This is the E-commerce Edge podcast with your host, Jason Greenwood. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. It is my great pleasure to welcome Alon Partuk from Octup to the pod. Welcome, Alon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jason.
My absolute pleasure. And you're calling in from the beautiful city of Tel Aviv, right?
Correct. It's now 6 p.m. here in Tel Aviv, starting the second shift of today.
I always joke because I've had so many Israeli founders, leaders, CXOs, tech companies on the podcast now. I think I've had about 50 Israeli founders and leaders on the podcast now. I don't know the exact number, but it would be around there. And man, there must be something in the water there. It's incredible. The amount of high tech leadership that comes out of Israel, particularly in the e-commerce space, is it's quite staggering.
Yeah, I think there is a decent community in the space. There is a lot of good companies and good founders. I think it's related to our culture and things that we are been through in kind of our lives. So it's great to be part of this community as well.
Then it seems to be that everybody's willing to boost each other up. There's not this sort of, oh, I'm doing this thing that may be a competition to you or maybe a competition with you in the future. So I'm not going to share what I know. I'm not going to help build you. I'm not going to help maybe invest in you. It feels the opposite. It feels like people are very much willing to share ideas, come together, help each other, boost each other up, especially in international markets. If somebody's cracked an international market, then they're willing to make those introductions and help you get deeply embedded in the international commerce ecosystem. So it feels very supportive, as opposed to, of course, there's still competition. I'm not going to say that there isn't, but it still feels more supportive than competitive.
But I think you touched a very unique point of the Israeli ecosystem and in the Israeli tech industry in general, because Israel is a very small place and we know each other. We know each other from the industry. We know each other from maybe we've been some friend before. We have a common friends when we've been in a certain places. So we know the majority of the founders in our space. And even if we don't know them, it's very easy for us to reach out to them and to create a collaboration. I'm personally a big believer in working together and to partner with other founders and other companies. Even if there is overlap and there is competition in a sense, it's always a kind of good direction from my place to know the other side and to see if there is any potential to work together. So I think this kind of approach and culture, in a sense, of the Israeli founders help a lot of companies to share ideas, a lot of founders to think together about challenges, etc., that can later on help us to overcome challenges and to scale faster in the changing environment and to adjust ourselves in a sense.
Makes sense. And how did you get into this space? You've got a really eclectic background, events and logistics manager for Red Bull, project manager for Cardis, and then you went into Trax Retail. Then you founded Apricot, which I'm assuming, and maybe you could tell a little bit of your backstory. I'm guessing that Octup may have been an internal tool or an internal technology that you developed to help support your retail endeavors at Apricot. And then from there, maybe you decided, hey, I've eaten my own dog food. I've developed something that I think is really special. And now we want to spin this out. We want to commercialize this. We want to take a page out of Amazon's book and take a cost center and now turn it into a profit center instead. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you even came to be in the kind of retail tech and e-com space.
So your feeling is going to the right direction. So I will share a little bit about myself. So you're right. I have a very kind of wide background. I'm kind of an opportunity guy in a sense. So I'm not really planning my kind of career and next step in a sense. Every step of my life was the opportunity that I saw and I decided to take. As you mentioned, I started when I was young in the beginning of my way, finding myself managing the full logistic and event operation of Red Bull in Israel. It's also something that I didn't plan to do. It was an amazing year. And then I was learning an economic and business management in the university and started my first journey in the high-tech industry. It's a company called Truck. In Trucks, I was doing a different position from project management, managing big companies in the retail space, P&G, Lavazza, etc. What Trucks is doing, in a few words, they're digitizing the physical world of retail. So they build a technology that can identify what's going on the shelf inside of the supermarket. Basically, when I joined Trucks, it was like growing startup, 100 employees. When I left Trucks a few years later, it was one of the biggest unicorn in Israel, $4 billion worth, 1,000 employees. And I was grow with the company, leading strategic alliance, and did a different position inside of the company. Now, basically, Apricot was come from my experience in the traveling world. So I was kind of founded a D2C brand on myself in parallel to my work in Trucks. I'm a traveler myself, and I always felt that the equipment that I'm traveling with was not good enough, was not efficient enough. It was not suitable for the new travelers, and also was super expensive. So I spent a lot of money on equipment that not suitable for my needs. I thought to myself, hey, maybe we can create the ultimate traveling gear, right? It's crazy. What, you're working in high tech, now you're trying to get a D2C brand. But again, for me personally, it always was, okay, what I can do next? What is the next thing that I wanna try to work on? And this is how Apricot, my D2C brand, was born. And again, we started from crowdfunding in 2017, when we did one of the biggest campaign ever been done in design category in Kickstarter and Indiegogo, raised approximately $2.5 million for our first product. Yeah, it was crazy. We just found ourselves one day with million in the banks, 50,000 clients in more than 80 countries. And for me, it was quite hell of a journey. I needed to learn everything on my own. What is logistic, how to produce, how to ship, how to do customer support. And this is how I shift out to the e-commerce industry. Again, we were talking 2000, many years ago, in a sense of the industry was different. So it's not was everything was structured like today. You have many tools, etc. And I remember that I was starting to be the design partner and the first client of the most of the big tools that you see today in our industry. So it's funny, I always going into shows and I see the founders, and I know a lot of founders from the e-commerce space outside of Israel because I know them from my journey. So the kind of the challenge of building a D2C brand from scratch, I literally did in the first days of the brand everything with my two hands. I would wake up in the morning, doing logistic, marketing, customer support, one-man show. I needed to fly to China to learn how to produce, to learn how to ship. It was super complicated also in the logistic wise. Now you need to ship to more than 80 countries. You have different regulation, different carriers. Now we need to pick and pack more than 100,000 items. So it was for me super exciting, interesting, but super challenging as well. All of this project was done in parallel to my work in Trucks. This kind of was, I will call it a side project because it's funny. It was a huge project, but it was a side project to my day-to-day job. And the guys from Trucks was know what I'm doing, and it was a common thing, and they very supported in my venture. And when I saw that Apricot as a brand is starting to be a business and a decent business, I decided to leave the comfort place of the high-tech industry. That you saw that the life is round. Later on, I come back to the high-tech industry as a founder, but I decided to leave the comfort place of kind of stable career, a very good kind of, I would say, in terms of salary, etc., and to build my own D2C brand. So I literally remember the day that I took my stuff and moved from the fancy offices of Trucks to a small office in other place to sit on my own and to build Apricot. And this is how I built Apricot, from one decision of taking it to the next level. And when the years goes by, I will add the team, build the team, and kind of Apricot scalable multi-million-dollar brand operating in the globally, but specifically in the North America market. When today we are working across the outdoor apparel industry, when we have jackets, pants, backpack, etc. And the brand is still working until today. And I think that one of the things that first I was fell in love in the e-commerce industry. So I'm doing a lot of years. I like the industry very much. I like the community side of the industry. So we talked about the community side of the Israeli founders, but I think that the e-commerce industry specifically is a very small and community industry, because it's funny. It's a huge kind of market, but it's also the people that inside of this industry know each other in a sense. So when I just come back for the Shop Talk event in Vegas, and I saw a lot of familiar faces, and I know a lot of people from the industry, and I think that's something that for me personally, it's very close to my heart because I know the challenges and I know how much it's complicated, but I know how much is rewarding it can be to build a D2C brand in terms of the immediate kind of value that you provide to your client and the immediate feedback. One of the things that personally I find myself, I would say, super excited about, and sometimes think it's not real to see the picture of our client traveling across the globe with our product. And it was amazing to see that people from traveling in the state, in New Zealand, Australia, North America, whatever, it was super exciting. And as a D2C founder, and this is where you touched the point at the beginning when your sense was right, I'm a tech guy, right? I'm coming from the tech industry and I build up, and all the time I find myself in the struggle of optimize my operation, my marketing, etc., to bring the company to be profitable, to be scalable, to be efficient. And I saw that I don't have the right tools and methodologies to do this as a small brand. And then when I tried to consult and talk with other brands in the industry, I saw that if you are a big brand, like selling a few hundreds of millions of dollars, you have the team of analysts and you have your BI that you build on your own. You spend millions of dollars for a team that maintain that, and everything was customized. And for a medium-sized brand, it was very difficult to get the visibility that I need. And one of the kind of the silos of the business that was for me very difficult to get the visibility is the operational side. And very fast I realized that the operational side of business is highly connected to everything going on the other side, like the marketing side, etc. And your kind of ability to support your marketing effort, to increase basic metrics in your business like retention and returning clients, and to be more profitable, come from the operational side. So what I did, I sit one day and decided that I'm solving this problem for Apricot and literally build a tool and methodologies to help me to optimize my operations. That was so valuable for the brand itself and would so create a huge impact on our profitability in our operations that I was invited to talk about it on Google's and Facebook events, how Apricot, this small brand, relatively small brand, manage their operations. And I realized that what I built for Apricot is much valuable to the brand itself and can literally change the way that D2C brands are managing their operations. And this is where kind of Octup was coming to life when I decided to take what we built and set a mission to help any D2C brand to be more profitable and to optimize the operation side of business. And this is exactly what we're doing in Octup. We're helping brands to make operations more efficient in three main things. One, we are basically taking your data from your warehousing, marketing, logistic, and commerce platform to provide you a full visibility of your operation and business. So you basically can see the data you need to take the right decision for your business. Second, we create a very unique technology that can read your warehousing and logistic cost. So we literally can read your warehouse invoices, if it's PDF, whatever Excel file, in any format, in any a kind of structure, and we can digest this data. It connected to other data sources, and basically to show you hidden charges, potential saving, and this is a real kind of cost saving from the operational side. And third thing, we're taking all of this data to show you your real profitability on the unit economic side. So basically to show you where do you have product that you're losing money or you have a decent margin to be able to take decision on a kind of discount strategy or selling price. So our system is a very wide platform in a sense, but the value that we're bringing to our clients is huge. This is the rewarding side of working on a tech startup, I will say.
Wow, what a journey for you when you go from Apricot, you're now dealing with you're getting into product lifecycle management, you're getting into building designs and tech packs, working with contract manufacturers, getting that shipped out, getting samples done, getting fabrics shipped in to the contract manufacturers, developing fabrics, especially when you're working in the outdoor arena, you're now dealing with technical fabrics, you're dealing with layered products, you're dealing with very complex products. And having spent as long in New Zealand as I did, and being exposed to Kathmandu and MacPack and so many fantastic outdoor brands that call New Zealand and Australia home, I'm very familiar with the technical nature of outdoor products. And so getting those products to market, and it's also a hyper competitive space. When we have brands like the North Face and we have very well established international brands, you couldn't probably have gone into a more competitive space than the outdoor and lifestyle gear space. No question about that. And so certainly I feel like your retail experience is very much, and your D2C experience is very much a trial by fire. It's like you couldn't have jumped into the deep end any further. And yeah, sure, maybe you were funded, crowdfunded or whatever, but it doesn't make the job of actually building the business and the brand any easier. It just means you've got the rocket fuel to be able to do it, but you still have to do the effort. You still have to do the work. You still have to build the brand. You still have to design the products. You still have to get them made. You still have to get them into the channel. And then you have to figure out, okay, what's the channel mix that is going to work best for us? Do we do retail stores? Do we do pure play online? Do we do strategic wholesale? And how do we do that one market at a time? And how do we think about that in the context of internationalization, language, local market dynamics, marketplaces, and all the rest? So there's a tremendous amount of experience that you got in a very short period of time. I like to call it the acid test of retail. When you got the acid test of retail through Apricot, and then obviously you ran up against something that many brands run up against, which is what are my operational costs looking like in terms of COGS, my unit economics, my contribution margin? When we start looking at all those, then we start looking at, okay, what are our pure marketing costs? We've got Meta, we've got Google, we've maybe got Amazon ads, we've got performance, we've got SEO. There's so many aspects of running a business that people oftentimes take for granted, that they say it's like the field of dreams, build a website and they will come. But that's not the case. It's a lot more competitive, and it's a lot more difficult today to build a successful digital first brand than it ever has been. And you said, hey, we need some tools to be able to, instead of living in spreadsheets all day, I want to build a tool that can do a lot of this heavy lifting for me because I come from this tech background. But I guess my immediate question that drops out of this is, and if I understand the platform correctly, in full transparency, I haven't worked with Octup before, but if I just read what's on the tin, it's an MTA platform. So it's a multi-touch attribution platform combined with a COGS management platform, an understanding platform. And we're bringing together two sides of the equation, right? We're bringing together the sales side of the equation, and we're bringing together the cost side of the equation. We're saying, okay, where are we getting the best bang for our buck? Where is our logistics and our operational cost? Where are those maybe out of whack in relation to what we're making on these products in the marketplace? And then what is it costing us to go out and acquire a new customer, to retain a customer? What is our CLV on a given customer? What is our cost to service of a customer? We need to bring in so many operational costs when we're calculating AOVs, CLVs, LTVs. When we're doing these calculations, we need to make sure that we're building a sustainable business. That is ultimately the goal. Are we doing something that is repeatable in the long term, or are we doing something that is ultimately going to put us out of the business because it is not sustainable? Now, the question that naturally drops out of this for me is, if I log into the Shopify App Store today, there's probably 20 to 30 MTA platforms. There's probably 20 to 30 operational platforms. There's probably 20 to 30 COGS management platforms. And what was it when you looked out at the marketplace? What was it when you looked out there, especially in 2017, that you said, there's nothing out there that feels like it meets my unique needs, and so therefore I'm gonna build it. If I can't find something that does everything I need it to do, then I'm just going to go out and build it. With my tech background, I think just in the same way I can build physical products, I can build a digital product to meet my needs?
I think it's a great question. And one of the uniqueness side of Octup is not just that we are taking data from a lot of different data sources to complete the full picture, but when you're looking on the data that we're taking, you have the basic integration, as you mentioned, Shopify, Facebook, Google, etc. Other kind of tools and platform that is quite easy to take the data. But in our platform, and we are the only one in the market that can provide a solution, we can read your real operational cost invoice. We can literally digest any unstructured data come from any warehouse in a multi-warehouse operations. And this data is super important to complete the missing piece in the puzzle of your operational activity. And there is a lot of hidden costs and hidden opportunities inside of this warehouse invoices. Now, think about it that it was a black box for D2C brands until today. Money in, money out, a lot of things going on, but your ability to understand those invoices is very complicated. You're getting a messy invoice on a weekly basis, multi-line per order. Now you need to download your Shopify stores, a Shopify order, Amazon order to work 3 days just to organize the data to start to analyze your operation cost. Now, most of the brand just neglected this area because it's so time consuming for them. So they're saying, I don't know how to treat with this kind of side of the business, so I'm just gonna neglect it. But we see a huge opportunity in this side. And this is where we build a technology that can digest this data in real time, but not only for digesting the data, but to provide you insight of top of this data. And this is where Octup really shine, with the ability to give you the visibility that you need on the operational side to create predictive analysis on top of that to be able to guide you through to be more profitable. Now think about the unit economics side. I think that a lot of brands think that they know the unit economics, but in the end of the day, they're working with benchmark, average, and assessment, meaning they're looking, okay, how much I sell, how much the COGS in general, and what is my gross margin. But what we see with most of our clients, there is a huge difference between the different line items, and the cost of the operational side affecting dramatically on your profitability. Think about it, you have product with a different dimension in the warehouse. The storage cost will be different. The shipping cost will be different. If you have product with a lot of returns, the return cost will be different. And we in Octup can take this cost, can attribute this cost to the different line item, and to show you, listen, on this specific SKU, you are losing 15% in every sales, or change your discount strategy, or change your price, or do an upsell with a more profitable product to make sure that your full activity will be much profitable. Now, the ability to provide this visibility to take decision, this insight, and the expose of data that was never addressable before, this is where Octup bringing really new solution into the market. The only ability to get the solution that Octup is providing is to build it on your own. To get it, we are providing a, I will say, enterprise level solution with a click of a button. Because in Octup is a self-serve application, no implementation needed. You don't need any technical resource. 2-3 minutes and you have fully operating platform. This is one of the things that we really focus on and we work very hard to achieve. And when you look on other tools in the market, you will find a lot of tools that provide you with basic visibility about your business, but a platform like Octup that could provide you a multi-channel operational insight and visibility, this is something very robust that providing a huge value to our clients, and the value proposition is very unique that can drive in the end of the day a huge ROI on the solution itself.
Hey team, I have a big favor to ask you. Please pause this episode and send the link of this episode to someone you know that you think would enjoy this content. Really appreciate you spreading the word. This is how we grow. We're not a Joe Rogan. We don't have big, massive advertising budgets, but we absolutely want to grow. We want to get the learnings from all of these episodes out to as wide of an audience as possible, and we need your help to do it. Thank you, and now back to your listening. And I think you rightly point out that there's a big challenge in our industry around when things are stable, it's relatively easy to understand what your unit economics are, right? It's when anomalies happen that all of a sudden a business can overlook those anomalies for lengthy periods of time, and that can drag down the overall holistic performance of the business, right? And so I'm thinking of things like, for example, when COVID hit and logistics costs quadrupled, they went up by 5x, 6x, 7x, shipping a container from China to the United States, for example, 4, 5, 6, 10x in some instances, the cost of moving a container around the world. Now, all of a sudden, my blended costs, particularly in that first 6 months of COVID, my blended costs were all over the map because I had some inventory that was at the older price, some inventory that was at the newer price. I had higher manufacturing costs. I had higher distribution costs. I had costs going up in my sales channels. So I had a lot of things that went from being very stable, very consistent for lengthy periods of time to many things coming into flux at the same time. And I think this was a massive challenge for retailers. It was not just a challenge for retail, it was a challenge for B2B retailers as well. And we now have a situation where if we don't have robust mechanics to be able to track and analyze these changes, we can be put out of business pretty quickly. And that's the thing, right? A lot of these retail businesses, they're not running with massive cash buffers. They are very marginal businesses. They're working in verticals that are very competitive. Maybe they're, in many cases, sometimes their gross margins are well under that 50%, 55% mark we like to see, because we know our net margins, once we take into account all of our costs, are going to drop somewhere into the 20%, 25% range. And so oftentimes businesses don't know which levers they can even pull to address their unit economic challenges. And so it sounds like what you were trying to do is you were trying to say, look, that's all fine and good when something's stable and when it's consistent and we know what our costs are. We know what our cost and we know what the inflation rates are going to be. We know what our pricing and forecasting needs to look like. But when many things get thrown into disarray overnight, as we did during COVID and even in the long tail after COVID, with sky high inflation rates, countries around the world printing money like it's going out of style, we are operating in a completely new environment. And it sounds like it is particularly those hyper dynamic environments that Octup was designed uniquely to deal with and address.
Totally agree. And I think that we're living in a kind of long changing environment, everything moving and changing in our business. Even if you're not aware in real time, most of the brands will find yourself catching the issues after they're happening. So know that the package has been late from the client side. Know that the cost been raised from the invoice side only after things are happening. And this is where I found myself and the other kind of friends from the industry just turning off fires all day, not sitting and planning, sitting and managing strategy, just sitting all day and wasting time on understanding what's going on or covering about bad thing that's happening in the business. And this is exactly where Octup designed to solve. Your ability to get this predictive analysis on what's going on in your business, to know that package going to be delayed, or to know that there is a stock orders and to be able to fit it on time. And this is, we have the operational cockpit that able you to get a 360 multi-channel operational activity to create this insight from operational overview. If I know that I'm selling a specific product in a certain time and I'm running out of stock, I don't want to find myself wake up in the morning that I don't have any stock. I want to make sure that I know it before. And this is where we're coming in and say, listen, we want to show you your opportunities. We want to show you where you have hidden saving or potential for growth and profitability before you will find it when it's already too late. And I think that you touched the point, and this is exactly the point that I find myself struggling to say. I think that if there is one industry that cannot be stable, it's the e-commerce industry. Let me take you to a scenario. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday season, a lot of brands doing a lot of discount, right? A lot of promotion. Why? Because people want to buy, we want to sell. It's a weird situation, but when you're reducing the cost of the product, the kind of the sales price, your operational costs are not changing. Either kind of the other way around. On the holiday season, there is an extra cost on shipping, extra cost on all of the operational side. And sometimes you finish this season and you find yourself with a huge cost of the operational side because your kind of volume will be raised, your price be dropped, but your operational cost is skyrocketing. And this is where we want to give you this insight and to tell you, listen, this is the range that you can play inside of this game of your operational side to be able to be profitable and not to lose money. And the level of the unique data and the level of the insight can take the brand into a very fast track to profitability and growth that was before, I would say, very complicated or even impossible for a brand to reach. Now, I think that if we will go back 4 or 5 years before, operational side was thing that was saved for the most complicated and big brand in the industry, because the return on investment was so high from the marketing side that I remember myself, who cares where is the package? Who cares what's going on? I put $1 on marketing, get 5x in the other side. But when the industry was changed, this is where any brand and any size realized it. And if you didn't understand it until today, I think you're in a big trouble. You need to optimize all of your business. And I think there is a say that I always like to say, because I really believe that this is true. Marketing drives growth, but operation drives profitability. If you will not be able to optimize your full business and be in the position that you know what's going on and you can get the extra mile, it will be very hard for you to be healthy as a business and to grow. And this is where, when you're looking on Octup client, you will find a huge range of different brands from any kind of industry. So if you're talking about jewelry, skincare, haircare, cosmetics, supplement, consumer electronic, fast fashion, golf equipment, shoes, I think that we have from any segment of the physical good brands. And from the revenue side, we do have from smaller brand like $500,000, $1 million revenue to 70 to 100 million of GMV revenue a year. Because I think that today, specifically in 2024, you need to be much more advanced in your approach, and you need to get the right tool to be able to optimize your business. And again, I think that because we're doing a shift and because we are moving from an industry that was focusing on the marketing to an industry that's focusing on business and profitability, I think that in a sense, we forgot that we need to make money from the business and to be profitable. And we was focusing only on growth because money was cheap. You will get a lot of kind of capital from different places. And this party is over in a sense. Now we need to make business. We need to be efficient. And this is exactly the idea why Apricot is getting the huge value, because you will get the insight into your front door. You will not need to dig into the data in so messy way just to work with Excel file and to try to connect the dot. We're giving you that in a kind of very approachable way that both save time, both save money, and give you the gold that you had inside of the operational side of business.
And how do you deal with the omni-channel businesses that maybe also have physical retail? They've got point of sale systems. As an MTA platform, you need to understand what's happening in physical retail just as much as your online, just as much in your transactional channels as your marketing channels, as your operational channels. You need to understand that 360-degree view of the business. And then secondarily, so that would be my first question, how do you help businesses that are omni-channel businesses? They're not just pure play online retailers. And then secondarily, how do you think about B2B e-commerce? And how do you think about B2B brands that either we have D2C brands that are trying to establish strategic wholesale channels, and vice versa, we have B2B brands trying to establish strategic D2C channels so that they can own the relationship with the customer, they can get direct market feedback on their products, they can have slightly better margins, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other way around, we have D2C brands that are establishing strategic wholesale channels because they want to de-risk their business. They don't want to absorb 100% of the high cost of customer acquisition. They know that they can never, even as a D2C brand, even as a very strong D2C brand, they know they can't be everywhere their customer may be. And so therefore, they need to have their product out in physical spaces that they could never get to. Even if they have 100 retail stores, they can't be everywhere their customers might be. So they need to have relationships with other retailers that can get their products into the customer's hands. So I guess we're now talking very complex business models. We're talking very complex amounts of channel mix. We're talking many orders of magnitude greater channels for feedback back into the system to try to calculate how successful we're being as a business. And historically, there's been this massive divide between not only D2C retailers, but omni-channel retailers, aggregator brands, and B2B brands. There's been this great divide between all of these. But now this is becoming much murkier. And very rarely do you have a D2C brand today that is just a D2C brand. Oftentimes, that D2C boom that happened during COVID, at the end of COVID, everybody went, holy crap, the TAM just collapsed for online sales. We're going to have to do something to remain competitive in the market. We're going to have to find new routes to market. Basically, distribution is the name of the game. Whoever distributes their product the most widely, regardless of channel, is usually going to win, so long as they can do that distribution profitably. And this is where I think, maybe give your thoughts on what I just said.
So I think that you touched the point, and I super agree with what you mentioned. Going back to your first question. So our system built in a way that is super flexible and give you the option to see the 360 operational activity, including the retail and B2B side. And how we're doing that? We're collecting the operational cost. And when you're working with warehouses, there is also the operational B2B side that we're collecting. Our unit economics built in a way that you can customize the cost that you see, and you can attribute the cost that you want on a specific SKU, on a specific category, or divided by all products. For example, if I have B2B cost that I want to add manually to a specific kind of list of line item, I can go into the Octup platform, go to the cost manager, and to arrange the cost as I wanted to see. And this is how we're providing them the ability to see both sides of the business, the marketing and the B2B side. Now, for the next question, and I think you touch the real kind of side of the problems, because as you mentioned, we're living in a scenario that you need to be all over the place. You need to have your Shopify store, you need to be on Amazon, you need to be on other marketplaces. Maybe you want to do some B2B or retail, whatever. And it's a nightmare to manage these operations. It's a nightmare to see what's going on. All of the order been shipped, all of the order been delivered. Do I have any issues, etc., etc.? And some marketplaces are even punishing you if you're not shipping the order on time. And sometimes it's even not your fault. Maybe the warehouse did an issue, it didn't make the SLA. And with Octup, this is exactly what you're solving. You will get this visibility. You will see exactly that all of your order been shipped. And if not, you will see which order didn't ship and from which channel. And you'll be able to see up to the order level and to send it to a warehouse and to say, hey, why this order didn't ship, or to send to the customer support to reach out to the client. And to create this operation, I would say automations, reduce a lot of noise, a lot of frictions, a lot of kind of waste of time. But in the end of the day, all of these points are translating to money. This is money that taken out from your business. If you will not ship this order on time, this order would be canceled. It will be returned. The money will return to the client. You lost the lifetime value of the client, the retention, sometimes the cost of marketing that you spend, and a lot of different metrics that this is important. And we want in Octup to make your operation very smooth. And I mentioned it before, but I think it's a key side of a D2C brand in the new era, to be able to create a predictive analysis, to drive an AI insight from your data to be able to show you where do you have issues. Now, we talked in the beginning about the multi-touch point of data. And when we designed Octup, for the first kind of design side, we said, why we need the marketing data? We're an operational platform. But really fast, we realized that you cannot look on the business from one side of the data points. You need to get the full picture to be able to connect the dots. So by creating a very robust, a very wide data layer of information, you'll be able to run a very interesting insight, correlation, trend, anomaly from your data to be able to expose this to your client. So I think that you're right, you're completely right, the ability to get more and more channels. And I think today there is a huge opportunities in kind of a cross-sell. There is a lot of a decent application into Shopify that you can do also B2B sales, etc. But as you mentioned, there is not the right tools to manage these operations. You sell the multi-channels, you need to fulfill. To be able to get this kind of operation efficiency, you need to have the platform that helps you to be profitable and to be efficient. And this is where Octup designed to provide this 360 multi-channel operational visibility and insight to make sure that your business, this whole machine, is working smoothly without any friction. So you will not find yourself in the end of the day, there is one piece of the machine that broke, and then destroying all the machine when the time goes by. So I think that one of the things that I, as a founder, discovered that very hurt me and my business is that this feeling that you wake up in the morning and you saw that there is a huge disaster on the operational side. Maybe you have huge number of orders that have been stuck. Maybe the marketplace canceled some of the orders because the warehouse didn't ship them on time. And everyone has excuses, right? Oh, there is an issue in the system or whatever. But I think that adding that, the ability to be profitable and to save money, this is the kind of the missing piece of the operational side, because we not just want to make sure that our operation is smooth and all of the order will ship on time, the client is happy, getting the right kind of service that he needs, etc. So he will come back and we can get a high engagement and high retention rate. We also want to make sure that this level of cost is optimized and we always reducing the cost of operation, specifically at the ever-changing environment in terms of cost as well. We're seeing a huge increase in all the operational costs, storage, shipping, labor, etc. It's becoming more and more kind of decent part of your P&L. This side, we want to help you reduce. And just looking on this data, I can tell you that we reduce 20 to 30% from the operational cost from our clients. And how? Giving them the exposure of what we call floating cost, hitting saving on the operational side, to analyze this operational cost, to be able to say, hey, you have a lot of opportunity in this side just to get exposure for this data. And I always, personally, although I see a lot of case studies, I always excited and overwhelmed from the tons of opportunities we found in the kind of logistics side of cost. And I think that specifically in a multi-channel environment, you have to be very on top of the operational side. And you're right, any brand and any side need to go to multi-channel as soon as possible to get as much wider spread in kind of multi-point as you can.
Wow. Makes complete sense. Alon, this has been a fantastic conversation. I've learned a ton. Now, as we come down to the end of our time together, I'd love to know what's on your roadmap for Octup. What is, if we look over the next 12 months, what kind of functionality would you like to add to the platform that maybe is being requested by customers, or you see some gaps in the market? And then how do you guys make your money? It's a SaaS platform. How do you charge for the platform? So what's on your roadmap, and how do you guys make your money as a business?
So we are growing very fast in the last few months. There are a lot of things that's going on. We're working on very interesting things that will come fast. One of the things that we're working on that I still cannot expose is generating a lot of extra money from the brand. We're talking about 3-4% top line revenue that's going to be released soon. Yeah, the kind of the use cases and the case study that we did with our current clients is blow our mind. I think that now we're trying to be very with a close communication with our client and listen to their need to make Octup to solve the problem as much as possible. We're always trying to go deeper into the operational side to provide more and more valuable insight and to get more data points into the system. So a lot of new things are coming in to help the brand to be more profitable and scalable with our operational side.
Yep. And how do you guys charge? Like, how do you guys make your money? Is it a rev?
So
is it a rev share? Is it a fixed monthly fee? Is it based on number of transactions? What's your model?
So Octup is a SaaS platform based on monthly subscription fee. We're talking on between $3.99 to $5.99, $7.99. It depends on kind of the company size. We do have an entry tier for $99 for a smaller brand, but it's really depends on where you're sitting in terms of revenue. But you're getting a full platform, including all the features. We're not limiting you in the number of users, a number of transactions. So basically, you will get a platform that all of the team can work in a kind of a united data layer of information and talk with the same language. So in terms of cost, it's a relatively addressable cost to any brand size.
Makes complete sense. Now, thank you so much for sharing everything about Octup. And now, as we come down to the end of our time together, this is where I get to flip the script. I get to hand the microphone over to my guest, let them ask me one question, any question they like, can be personal or professional. So, Alon, Partuk from Octup, what is your question for me today?
Wow, I didn't get myself to be on the microphone side, but maybe I would ask you why you decided to make a podcast and what you like about interviewing other people in your podcast.
Very good question. There's probably two primary motivations. I didn't see anything in the marketplace talking about the technical and operational side of e-commerce. Lots of great podcasts out there, lots of great e-commerce podcasts out there. The vast majority of those podcasts were talking about e-commerce marketing and e-commerce merchant stories. There was not a lot of discussion around ops and tech. And so I wanted to fill that gap. There also wasn't a lot of people talking about B2B e-commerce out there, and I wanted to fill that gap. So that was probably one of the motivators. And then the second one is it's very difficult to have great conversations with people outside of a podcast environment, because you just message them on LinkedIn and you say, let's grab a virtual coffee. Can we have 15 minutes together and chat business, chat industry, chat what we're seeing, etc. Oftentimes those people, when you message them, they're going to think you're trying to sell them something. And so a podcast is a really great way of having very detailed and high-level conversations, long-form discussions with experts in their field, in their area of expertise, such as yourself. And those kind of conversations are really difficult to have any other way. Those are probably the two biggest motivators for me to do what I do from a podcast perspective.
Amazing.
And about 350 podcast episodes later, I'm still loving it. So I'll keep going with it.
Amazing, Jason.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait to speak to you again soon, my friend. Are you a B2B or D2C e-commerce merchant? Then head over to greenwoodconsulting.net to learn how we can help you scale your business.